learn from valid leaders who have actually done it and not only have sold that much, but actually have profit, have made investments, knows how to flip real estate, knows how to lend against real estate, knows how to do all these other things around real estate that can help you build your wealth faster than if you were just on your own at one of these other companies where you're learning from a broke leader.
Yep.
On W-2. How is a W-2 broke leader going to get you where you want to go financially? Because the only reason why we get into real estate sales is to build wealth, is to make a financial living. No one would be out there hustling and selling real estate if they didn't get paid for it.
All right, my friends, welcome to another episode of Alan K Show, brought to you by, guys, Modern Day Brokerage. We have a special guest today. This individual is the epitome of taking risks, being bold, not settling for mediocre stuff, and always pushes through adversity. We got a great guest today, guys. His name is John Brooks. He is a brokerage owner out of Jacksonville, Florida. And this guy's been in business. John, you've been in business for what, 9 years right now?
Yeah, I got in 2016.
So yeah. 2016, I think first year you closed on what, 66 transactions?
Yes.
$12 million. The second year, I think, was 74. The third year, 143 sales as a single agent. I think it was you and your wife, correct?
Yeah, me and my wife, we closed
right
103. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And then you started a team that was kind of based on the showing agent model. And then in 2020, you decided to launch your own brokerage.
Yes.
So let's start with that, man. Let's start with the brokerage side of the business, and then we can dive in deep into the agent side of the business. But this show is more really for like the team leaders and the brokerage owners.
Okay.
And I really would like to know the genesis of that. Like, what made you decide to go like a brokerage route versus like continue staying as a team?
Yeah. So I think there were, we loved the company that we came from, and we learned so much there. But when we got to see the mega agents who were speaking on stages at the conferences, what they were saying on stage wasn't matching what was actually happening and being talked about behind closed doors, which basically like, hey, I sold 2,000 homes this year. Like, that's really great, but what's your profit? And the profit wasn't there. And so there were some instances where a team of 3 would make more money than a team of like 500 agents. And for me as a business person and a prior investment banker, which business would I rather have? I'd rather have the profitable one that's got a bunch of small powerhouse players and a bunch of mediocre to average players. So that really frustrated us. And we realized that there's a missing conversation in this industry, which is profit. And there's also a missing conversation about profit for real estate brokerages as well, because a lot of real estate brokerages are severely struggling, especially in the market right now. And they've got some issues. So we saw the opportunity in 2020 after we were teaching classes. We were the top agents in our marketplace. We just became net worth millionaires. We just had our first kid. My wife was pregnant again. We were like, let's instead of, and we had all these agents coming to us who wanted to join our team. And we said, well, why don't we just launch a brokerage instead and just try to help as many people as we can in a platform that doesn't have accountability every single day, but gives them all the resources that we've developed and everything that we've learned to become net worth millionaires in 3.5 years. So that's how it started. It was frustration of the prior company we were with and how they were operating, and wanting to get a different lens of the real estate agent like world out there, which is to focus on agent profitability.
So you're starting this brokerage, right? Like, why not go, and there are different options out there. I mean, you can go indie, and you're an indie brokerage. I think one of the biggest independent brokerages in Jacksonville, maybe the biggest, right? But we also work with the brokerage owners, John, where like they are like part of a franchise network. Like, what made you, decide to go independent route versus kind of maybe almost kind of like a safe route of getting into a franchise model?
Yeah, so we were offered a Engel and Volkers franchise, and we were offered a Remax franchise. We tried to buy into the company we were at previously, but they said there's no room. So that's, another reason why we left, is the opportunity stop going there. What we found with the franchise models is they're very powerful models, but we want to have control. We've always been people who want to have control of our own destiny. I know with some of the franchise models, if you ever decide to sell them, you're kind of capped at the multiple that you can get for them. If you try to think outside the box, they kind of pull you back into the box, the contracts. You have to renew your franchise agreements. And it was something that we just weren't interested at the time. We were like, let's just build our own thing and see where it goes. And we're really happy that we did. Of course, it's going to be harder because you have to figure everything out yourself. But you have more of the upside too. And we figured that if we could, we figured that we could figure it out ourselves.
And how were you able to just figure it out? Like, how would you, like, in the initial stages of this, right, when we were planning to launch your own brokerage, the compensation models, the value proposition, the tools, the resources, like all of those things are very important in attracting agents, right? And I know you said like you had some agents that would come to you and say, hey, I want to be part of your organization, I want to be part of your team. But that was, I'm assuming, when you were still kind of like a team, part of the brokerage, right? So when you started your brokerage, or even before starting your brokerage, I mean, what were you thinking as far as like, all right, what is my value proposition to the agent that I'm trying to attract? And then like, what would be my compensation model for that agent? Like, how much am I going to be charging? What's that going to be the profit wise for me?
Yeah, so we read some studies online, and from one of my buddies from EXP, who's a really great recruiter, and he was sharing with me what he thinks the future of this business is going to go. And so he introduced me to the 100% commission model. I did research. I found out that the number one brokerage in the area is on the 100% commission model. And then we did the math, and we were like, this is a really fair agreement. The agent gets to keep the majority of their commission, and we are still able to make not as great as a profit margin, obviously like 1/3 of the big box brokerages, but still enough to make it like a really strong business. And so that's where we went with the 100% commission model. We've played with it. We've added monthly fees. We've taken away monthly fees. We've increased the transaction fee that we have. We've played with the model a little bit to see what we can do with it, and we're really happy with the outcome, and the agents are too. In regards to the agents joining the team, I mean, here's what happened. I mean, we had a stage. We're speaking at all the conferences in front of 10,000 people. We were teaching all of the classes. People knew who we were. We were like the number one agent, for a small team. And when we launched the company, everybody was like, I want to know how you guys did it. Right. So there wasn't really a question of like, hey, John, what's your value prop? They just want to know, how did you do it? We want to spend time with you. We want to think like you. We want to take action like you. We want to be around that type of energy and that environment that you guys foster and that we get in the training classes and all that stuff. And so a lot of the value proposition is the passion that we have that rubs off on other people. A lot of it is the training, and then it's a low cost model. So you're not, the problem that I think a lot of these companies have is they put the trainer up there, and the trainer is a failed agent that reads from a textbook that was written 20 years ago, and they don't know how to do anything. And it's a joke. And so you're getting trained by a failed person to teach other people how to be successful. It's not going to work. So we figured if we're successful and we share what our success story is, we can attract other people who want to have a similar success story. And that process did work.
Yeah, it's kind of reminds me. I actually right before this, I had an agent interview. He is with the brokerage that you used to be part of. And he was on a team with a team leader that really never sold any real estate. And now that team leader became actually the team leader for the market center. And the guy wants to grow. The guy wants to close 30 transactions this year. And he's like, I just not really getting the value for the amount of money that they are charging me. So you're absolutely right. And it's amazing for me to see that there are team leaders out there or some brokerage owners out there that haven't really done that many transactions, and they're trying to teach you and coach you into something where they haven't really done themselves. Like I see this constantly.
Yeah. And that's a huge opportunity for us as people who have done it ourselves. We're just saying, learn from valid leaders who have actually done it, and not only have sold that much, but actually have profit, have made investments, knows how to flip real estate, knows how to lend against real estate, knows how to do all these other things around real estate that can help you build your wealth faster than if you were just on your own at one of these other companies where you're learning from a broke leader
Yep.
on W-2. How is the W-2 broke leader going to get you where you want to go financially? Because the only reason why we get into real estate sales is to build wealth, is to make a financial living. No one would be out there hustling, selling real estate if they didn't get paid for it. And so we want to have our agents keep more, be able to invest more, be able to think like investors when they're out on appointments and they're out looking at deals, and make more money. At the end of the day, we say the purpose of real estate is to get out of real estate. And if you're doing it for 30 to 40 years, then you probably didn't figure it out fast enough. And what we want to do is avoid the 40-year agent in the industry. They should be able to get in and out of the industry within 10 to 15 years if they do it according to the model that we have set up within our company.
Yeah, yeah. I tell this to my agents all the time. The real estate sales is not who we are. It's the vehicle to get us to a place. I mean, where we can just experience amazing things, build long-lasting relationships, and make quite a bit of money, and then deploy that money in income-producing assets. And it can
Yeah.
be done in 3 to 5 years. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be 25, 30, 40 years going out there and slinging homes for a living.
Well, who knows how long that, the commission structure that we currently have today, like I always feel like there's a sense of urgency that's needed in the marketplace that a lot of agents don't feel, which is like this income opportunity might not look the same in 10 years from now. So take advantage of this. This might be the most amount of money you ever make. I mean, when you're looking at my numbers in 2016, it kind of frustrates me because it's like 12 million is like nothing nowadays because the price has doubled.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Like I remember my first year, dude, I closed 16 deals, and I think it was like three and a half, 4 million. I remember my first listing was $100,000 house. That was back in 2013. And it felt like it was a freaking $1 million house. My commission was $2,500. It felt like $25,000, right? So I remember those days, like my third year, I closed 75 transactions, and I think it was like $21 million in sales. Right now, 75 transactions would be like 55
Yeah.
million dollars in sales.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I think, like when agents like, I want to make more money, I want to make more money. I think, one of probably the most I don't know, the fastest way, if you will, or efficient way of doing it is actually like raise your price points, right? I think you talk about this constantly. It's like, hey, you know what? Instead of selling for $300,000 house, why don't you just go and focus on 500 or $600,000 houses?
Yeah, what you focus on expands. And that was one of the things that I did in my third year was like I figured out, more profit the higher the price point. And it wasn't based on where I lived. A lot of people say, well, that's because you live in that area. No, I lived in a $200,000 home and I was prospecting through expired and for sale by owner $1 million listings because that's what I wanted. So I think there's like a misconception of how easy it is to break into luxury sales and to increase your price point. You just have to focus on it because you get on what you focus. You get what you focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your thoughts definitely shape your perspective, right? So like that's something that, you know, I focused on as well. I remember when my fourth year in real estate business started doing geo farming. So instead of like focusing on the mid-range prices, I decided to go after 600, 700, $800,000 houses. Because if you think about it, ultimately it's the same thing, but most likely you're getting a better clientele, you're getting better buyer quality wise, right? The commissions are higher, but what we're sending out in terms of the postcards, it's the same cost if I would be sending out to a neighborhood that is an average of $350,000. So same exact thing. So I get that 100%. So I guess 100% model. So that's the model that you're currently running right now, right? It's 100% model. That's what you're offering.
Yeah. And then if you're an agent who hasn't yet sold 12 homes in your career, then it's an 80-20 model plus $350 transaction fee. And that just compensates us for the extra time that we have to spend training you and getting you to where you need to be. Because it's going to be about 3 times more work working with somebody who's in that bucket than if they've already done 12 transactions.
So those that are agents are kind of like either brand new agents or agents that are looking for consistency in their business, been around maybe for a couple of years, closing a couple of deals here and there, but really would like to increase their production, looking for guidance, mentorship, and the best practices of getting there.
Yeah.
That's an
And
80-20 split. Yeah.
Yeah, and ideally we like agents who have already been at another brokerage and have already sold 4 homes. Those are the ones that have the highest success rate when they're brand new. They can make it. We've had agents who are brand new make it under our model like very, very well, but they need to be self-starters. We're not a brokerage that handholds people through. We expect people to be resourceful and self-accountable, and we're not gonna, and I don't think any brokerage really wants to handhold people through unless they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg for the training, which most do. We don't do that. We just say go somewhere else first. In fact, we for the first 2 years we referred about 200 agents to our former brokerage because we didn't take anybody who produced less than 10 sales a year. So that's how we got really top heavy with our producers. And then the producers got so busy that they needed leverage, that in April 2022 we opened the doors to brand new agents, and we had a flood of like 30 agents join immediately. We built a training program around that. About half of them had wild success. The other half dipped out within 6 months and went somewhere else, and then usually dip out of the industry. But it's been good because now the top producers have a really powerful ecosystem where if they need a showing or an open house, there's all these hungry agents that don't have enough production that are immediately available to serve them, and that makes our ecosystem much stronger.
So just to go back what you just said a minute ago, so you turned away 200 agents. You refer those agents to your previous brokerage
Yes,
because they were not doing an
they're
X number
new.
of deals. They were brand
Yeah,
new.
they're brand new or they produce less than 10 transactions. So for the first 2 years, we didn't accept them. We only want to work with top
Dude,
producers.
seriously? That's the
Yeah,
first time I'm hearing something like this. I
yeah.
never heard brokerage owner or even a team leader to, turn down 200 agents in the first 2 years.
We didn't have a training program for them. We didn't have, we're a virtual company. They need train, like we just didn't have the resources to be able to serve what they needed. So we actively sent them away to our former company. I'm in the profit share tree at that former company. I'm grandfathered in. So they were more than, now I've got great profit share checks because some of those people ended up working out. But we we are a mission focused organization. We're not just focused on profit. Profit is great for us and all that other stuff, but we want to serve our box of people that we want to serve, which is usually the $3 to $8 million producer who doesn't make enough profit and wants to grow and scale, maybe hire their first person, get to the next level. So we have a lot of agents who come in that are already doing $4 million in production. And then one of our agents this year, she's been with us 4 years, came from the same company we did, was a $4 million producer for 5 years, joined us, and then this year she's doing about 30 million. Right? That's the type of person that we want. Somebody who's really hungry to grow and is willing to listen and implement the tools and models that we have here to get to the next level. If you don't have more than 10 units, then it was really hard to have those business conversations with you because it wasn't big enough to have a business. Now we've opened those doors because we realize there's a lot of people who want to be in this conversation about building a business that just don't have that production there yet. So our average agent at Momentum makes about $105,000 a year, and they sell 10 to 12 homes. And that's what it looks like at the company.
Got it. So can you really scale the size of your company based on those parameters?
No, so not in our local market. So we did analysis. There's 12,000 agents in our marketplace. Out of those 12,000, there's probably about 1,200 that we would be interested in having a business conversation with and would be excited to partner with from a production standpoint. Now, out of those 1,200, probably only 1/3 of those is interested in wealth building and actually growing as a human and growing their business. So we're looking at like about 400 agents who are our target market that we think would be a good fit with our organization. And we're at 170 now. So we believe once we hit about 400, we're going to be saturated in our local market. We'll probably be at 400 within the next 2 to 3 years. And then it'll be completely saturated, and then we'll move to the next market. And what we're doing now is we didn't have any physical office locations. Now we're starting to open little physical office locations in strategic areas to kind of just solidify, what the agents have access and resources to.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the physical locations, right? So like we have agents that we talk to that are so for some reason determined to have a physical location or a physical office, a place that they want to go to, but in reality, they never show up, right? They never spend any time, right? We also work with the brokerage owners. They're like, well, one of my limitations is the fact that I don't have a physical space. And I'm like, dude, like my first year as a brokerage owner during COVID, we hired like 74 agents, and most of them did not show up to our office. In fact, right now we got a 3,000 square foot office space, and like on any given day, we may get like 4 people that show up. They pick up something or whatever it is, or they drop off, and that's pretty much it, right? So, I mean, really, in reality, you don't really need an office, right? But what can you say to that brokerage owner or team leader that, man, is like I need to have an office space in order for me to I guess appease the brokerage or the agent community in their market? Like, is that really, really right now at this point that important? Like, I mean, you're doing it without it. You've been doing it at a high level without it, right?
We're launching our first office next week, and then we have a second office because we acquired a brokerage, and we're taking over their lease space as well. Yeah, nobody goes in. The agent likes the idea of the office, but they rarely use it. I think it also depends on age demographics. I also think it depends on the agent's home situation. A lot of agents, if they have a hard home situation, they need to go somewhere to produce. They could go to a coffee shop. There's tons of places you could go. But there are agents, a very niche number of agents that will want to use an office every single day. I don't think for most broker owners, unless they get to the size that we are, it makes any sense to spend money on expensive leases. We did the first one because we already owned the building, so our payment's only $1,200. In the brokerage that we acquired, the revenue from the acquisition and the agents that are there more than pays for the lease. So it was a good deal. Like I'm picking up a location. So for us, we've done it very strategically and very affordably. And I think that's the only way to do it. I think I see a lot of brokerages out there. They get these really expensive 5-10 year leases and they don't make it. And they just shut down because they're not profitable. It's not worth it. And they can't get out of the lease, and they've personally guaranteed it. And they're a really tough spot. I would not start with a location until you get the revenue first.
Yeah. Yeah. So leading with the revenue.
I wouldn't lead with the expense and then pray that people show up. I think that's where because the fail rate's really high on the broker side too. So I just wouldn't do it. So we just worked in a co-work space, and nobody cared because like it was during COVID, so nobody came out. But now people are coming out. I mean, we still have like 5 or 6 agents that go into the office every single day. They pop in, do closings, we do trainings in there and things like that. But the majority of the time, they're really not used the way that they used to be used.
So where do you hold your meetings or like large events? Do you kind of like rent out a facility or a space, or you do everything virtually like via Zoom?
Yeah, so we have usually about 3 to 4 in-person meetings a month, and then 3 trainings virtually. The ones in person will either be a lunch meetup somewhere strategically located around town. Another one will be at the office, like a book club. Another one of our top producers will do a training on something that they're a specialist in. And then I do a training on what's going on in the market, because that's my background, and that's where people trust me to provide them the accurate information and scripts and everything they need to be having conversations with the customer. And then we have a country club that we rent out about once a month for a get together with all the agents for whatever the topic is of the month. So for this month, for example, we are training everything that's database focused, like getting the database touch program, getting their contacts into their database, getting organized for the year next month. And so we're going to meet at the country club where we can seat up to 100 people. And it's really nice. And yeah, we're going to have like a really nice training that we're going to deep dive on these topics of database. Next month is going to be the same process, but it's going to be focused on buyers. The month after that, it's going to be on sellers. My favorite topic. Next month after that, it's going to be under financials. So it's all planned out. So we get like really specialized every month on one core aspect of their business that's strategically located, on the calendar throughout the year based on what the market does, right? Because the majority of transactions happen between March and August.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, dude. So like going back to that acquisition, so you acquired a brokerage. Is it locally in Jacksonville area?
Yeah, the announcement's coming out next week.
Oh,
Yes,
so
it's a
it's not even public yet.
no, yeah, yeah, it's not
Okay,
public
got
yet.
you.
By the time
Got you.
this releases, it'll be
By the
public.
time it releases, it will be probably public. I mean, do you mind kind of sharing some of the intricacies of it? I mean, of that deal, how long did it take, the size of the brokerage, the terms, or any of that stuff?
I'll share a little bit. I just, I have confidential, I want to be confidential on some of the
Sure, of
stuff
course.
for the,
Whatever you can share.
yeah, I mean, basically, and I think this is true with a lot of brokerages out there. They have a lot of overhead that they want to get rid of, and they want to get back into selling because the broker owner is very charismatic. Maybe they've brought over a bunch of people because they're a top salesperson themselves, but that doesn't mean that they're the right person to lead and grow a large brokerage. And so there's a lot of headaches as well. If you don't have a lot of top agents, you have a lot of new agents. New agents could drive you crazy. So there's been several brokerages that have reached out to us saying, like, we don't want any of these headaches anymore, and we want these liabilities off, and we just want to go sell because we know how to sell, and we know selling is actually going to make us profit. So that's what's been happening. So it's not just this brokerage that we acquired, but several others that have reached out to us saying, we just don't want the headaches, and we want to be teamed up with a low cost, really high reputation brand that's growing really quickly. And if you're a broker owner in Northeast Florida or even Georgia, reach out to us, because we are acquiring companies, and we structure it in a way that makes it like a really big win-win for the broker owner and for the agents.
Got it. Got it. So when you're saying you're structuring in a way where it's a win-win for both of you and the agents, like how are you structuring these deals? Are they primarily like in a way where you're just acquiring them completely, or they're like um, like terms in place, it's seller financing? I mean, what do you kind of like? You're a former finance guy, right? You're a banking guy, so like I'm sure you're pretty good at it. I mean, how do you go about acquiring these companies? So what is your pitch?
So I'm not an expert and I'm not pitching. So I just like I'm doing my first one, and who knows if I did it right or wrong. I don't know. It was harder than I expected. So what we first did was we took the roster of agents and we assigned a value based on our compensation structure of what the value that agent has in terms of revenue. And then basically we cut that in half because we expect, probably half to transfer. And then
Wow.
we match that up against the liabilities that we said we would commit to taking over. And then we see if there's any margin left on top, minus all of our operating costs, to be able to service that type of transaction volume. So it's basically just an Excel spreadsheet that tells us what to do. And we can structure it in a way there's a cash payout up front, or we can structure it in a way where we give you 20% revenue share. There's a lot of different ways that we can structure it depending on what the business owner wants. Do they want long-term revenue from the people they've already recruited and future people they're going to recruit, or do they want a lump sum payment up front and then maybe a payment in a year from now? So there's a couple of different ways that we can structure it, and we're happy to explore all options with everybody because we can make the numbers make sense. It's just going to come down to when you want the payment and how it's going to be paid, depending on what they do.
Got it. Got it. So going back to the agent count, right? You have 178 agents right now. The average agent in your brokerage does between 10 to 12 transactions a year. That probably gets you to about 1,500 transactions a year, right?
Yeah, we
Somewhere
closed out at like 1452 this year.
there.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. That's incredible. Um, but you also, I'm sure, have a lot of competition, a lot of brokerages out there in Jacksonville area, just in Florida in general alone.
Okay.
Like here in Metro Phoenix, in our MLS, we got like 2,500 brokerages. And we have like 25,000 agents in our
Yep.
MLS and 2,500 brokerages, right? And we're like the epicenter of 100% brokerages. We have like a brokerage here that's got like 7,000 agents. They charge like $25 a month and $300 per transaction, right? The second one's got like 3,000 agents, same thing, right? So how do you stand out? Like, let's say, for example, if you're a brokerage owner, may not have the same type of skills and accomplishments and pedigree that you have, right? How do you stand out as a brokerage owner in a sea of flat fee companies, as well as like big box brokerages or like revenue share brokerages out there right now that are gaining a huge market share, right? In Florida. So, what do you do? How do you separate yourself?
We did it by getting results. So, and then sharing the success stories, right? So if you get, like, I just shared an agent that went from 4 million to 29.8 million within 4 years at the company, and now has a nanny, her lifestyle is way better, has all these benefits. I mean, you actually want your business to help you want to help the other person produce more so they make more money. And then you just show people the numbers, and then if you show them the evidence and then you have them talk to that person that had the success because they moved to your company, then you get a referral for free. And that's like the best way to get a customer is through the referral. So you actually have to provide I know this might sound strange to some brokers, but like you have to provide value, and you have to find a way to create a productivity environment where your people are going to get to the next level. Ours is done through really focused training in providing resources and an environment where everybody knows they're supposed to be productive. Setting that expectation that we expect you to grow while you're at this company will literally deter the people who are going to be the victim mentality that's going to drag your whole company down. That's why we were exclusive from the beginning, is because we wanted to get all those victims out of the company and all the complainers out of the company. And guess what? Being an environment where everybody's succeeding and everybody's happy is going to be way more attractive than the company that I was at previously. We find all these zombie agents walking around the office looking for help, and none of the top producers want to be in the office around them because they just suck up the energy and they suck up the resources, and they want to get the heck out of there. That's how we felt about it. So we decided, let's go the other way, where everybody's a top producer and just thrives off of each other. And then we opened the doors and cherry picked the best newcomers to the industry. And that's what's worked for us. So everybody has a different model. You can go, I'm the cheapest in town, and try to collect as many agents as possible to get fees off of them. That's cool. We don't even believe that 80% of those agents should be allowed to even have a license, to be honest with you. I can't even believe how low the standards are that they're legally allowed to have. So we call those the graveyard brokerages, where the agent's average production is 1 to 3 sales. They are usually part-time. They're the ones that get in all the legal and ethical issues. They don't answer their phone. They don't present the offers. They create all the problems in the industry for the consumer and for the other agents. We don't believe in these agents. And I'm on a podcast saying this. I mean, I say this every chance I can get, because they should not be in the industry. If you're not going to take someone's largest financial purchase or sale seriously because you don't have the reps, you're not going to do it as your career, then you should not be licensed. And that's my personal opinion. I'm sticking with it. It's worked well for us, and it's attracted other agents who think the same way. And it's usually top agents who think that way.
Man, that was a mic drop right there.
I think it's the truth. And I think all of it, we see these NAR commission lawsuits and all this other stuff, and it's just a symptom of the larger issue that there's no standards in this industry. And we've got a lot of people running around with no idea what they're doing, messing up transactions and causing messes. We don't want those people around. We don't want them at our brokerage. And that's why our brokerage is different from these other 100% commission models, where you could get a felony yesterday and still come and have your license at the company and have no problem with it. We have standards that are higher than the industry standards, and that's why our company has higher level producers. And I think that's the right way to go. And there's only like 2 or 3 other companies in our area that have production standards for their agents. I think it's a good thing. Now, we've opened the door, but we're still very selective. And if it's a headache agent that we think is not going to be able to provide 5-star service to the customer, they're out. My wife will fire them in a heartbeat. We've fired plenty of agents. We've denied agents. If we think they're a bad apple or they have a bad reputation with other agents by not providing good service, you're done. I mean, our purpose of our company is to provide a better experience for the consumer, because we started off having a terrible experience ourselves in real estate when we bought our first house. Our offer was not presented to the seller. I actually had to go knock on the door and make the deal with the seller myself. He's like, I never got the offer, because the other agent was a part-time agent who was trying to double side the deal and get both sides of the commission. And it just drives us nuts. And so we feel like we have an obligation to get these people out of the industry. And we're not big enough now, but we'll be bigger in the future, where we're going to hopefully change the industry from the inside out, because I don't think the outside is going to do anything. I don't think NAR is going to do anything. I don't think that local boards are going to do anything. I don't think MLS is going to do anything. They want their memberships up as high as possible so they can collect as much fees as they can. We don't think that's the right thing for the industry long term. We actually think that's going to be a negative thing. We'd rather have more top producers who are specialists, who really care about the customer experience, and that'll be better for the industry long term.
I love it. I love it. So when you have agents, for example, they're talking about a rev share nowadays, stock option nowadays, right? How do you combat that? I mean, how do you go about like handling those type of, objections or in some cases concerns? Like, what do you say to them? Because if you think about, let's be real. I mean, some of these companies are growing, they're adding more agents, they're all over the internet, right? They're all over the social media. Um, so like, how do you separate yourself, differentiate yourself from those companies?
I mean, if you want to be a full-time recruiter, go be a full-time recruiter. There's companies that will pay you a lot of money if you want to go out and recruit agents, but I don't see why you would want to go recruit 700 agents for a company you don't own. If you're going to go out and recruit 700 agents, you might as well just be an indie company, right? Like an indie brokerage and just create your own. So it's interesting to me. We have a revenue share component for our agents, but we want our agents to be producers and not recruiters. We want the recruiting to be natural because they like each other and they want to be at the same in the same ecosystem versus in different companies and collaborating that way. That's the way that we see it. It is very lucrative. I mean, if you can recruit a lot of agents and you can get those agents to recruit a lot of agents, then that's great. But what we're seeing now is that there'll be, there's Keller Williams had the profit share, then you have EXP that has the rev share, then you have a bunch of competitors, Real, Fathom, like X name, that do the same thing but at half the cap, and then you have the next one, LPT, coming out that's half the cap of the half the cap, and they're just all racing to the bottom on this recruiting model for these agents that do 1 to 3 units a year, who are the ones that we don't really think should be in the end. Because if you actually look at the statistical data and break it out, they're getting headcount, but their production is actually pretty low per agent on these recruiting schemes. So it's really just a fee play to collect as many fees as humanly possible. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's their right to do business however they want to do it. That's just not the way that we want to do business. And if you get in early on one of these MLM structures, you can get like massive payouts for life, but you got to get in early. You got to get in at the top. You have to recruit. You can't just sit back and join a company and it's like the company's going to make you money just because you moved companies. Like you have to do the recruiting.
Oh, most definitely, right. I mean, not only you have to do the recruiting, but you also have to sell real estate. I mean, that's another thing, and like when I see this kind of constantly, the focus shifts from selling real estate into recruiting, but they haven't even really mastered the selling of real estate in the first place. So recruiting is pretty much like selling as well. It's all about building, developing relationships, nurturing those relationships, presenting value, and it takes time to bring anybody on board. And you're doing exactly the same thing with buyers and sellers that you're doing with the agents. And if you haven't really mastered one side of that business, which is selling real estate, how can you really master, bringing in agents or recruiting agents? Which again, it's a skill. It's not something that can be done overnight. Don't you agree with
I
that? Yeah.
I agree. I think there should be, I think you should have to sell like 30 homes before you start, like in a year before you start recruiting agents. Like there should be some sort of standard out there that makes sense. But I mean, if that's what they want to do, if they want to be a full-time recruiter, that's great. But there's consequences of being a recruiter as well, which is 30 to 40% of agents it's going to go through attrition every single year. You're going to have to replace them. So it's not like automatic income for the rest of your life. You have to keep recruiting to keep up your rev share tree.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
We don't
also,
get this action, to be honest with you, because we're not talking to the recruiters, we're talking to the producers, and
we're talking to the producers, right?
they don't care. They're like, I don't care. If I find somebody that's a good fit for the company, I'll help bring them in and I'll get paid a little bit for it, and that's awesome. But I'm not gonna. I want to produce because I know producing is going to make me more money.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So kind of tell me, so right now, looking at your organizational chart, right? It's it's your wife. Um, Kind of what are your roles within the company? And then like how many admins do you have,
Yeah.
to handle 170 plus agents?
So we have my wife is the broker owner, so she answers all the broker questions. She has 3 assistants, 2 virtual assistants, and then an on-the-ground assistant who goes to the office, collects the checks, scans them, deposits them, uploads them to a spreadsheet, make sure they're organized for the Florida Real Estate Commission. So that's it.
So
And then on
three assistants, one on the ground,
and
locally,
two in the
and
Philippines.
and two in Philippines. And so what do those two assistants in Philippines do?
They help with compliance checks and they manage my wife's email inbox. And
So
that's it.
compliance, checks, and managing emails.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right. So
Questions, maybe somebody will call and leave a voicemail. They'll go, solve the voicemail, whatever, who is ever calling for something. Yeah.
okay. Okay. And then the employee that you guys have on the ground is making sure that the checks are what, delivered, or what is her main responsibility?
Yeah, so we do a lot of new construction deals. We just actually found out that 320 of our deals aren't in MLS because they were lot sales and they weren't, we have to actually put them in the system into MLS. So we're still figuring things out. Like, we're a fairly new company. We're only 4 years old, but she goes to the office to collect all the new construction checks because a lot of the new construction deals don't allow pay at closing. They want to mail the check to you like a week later. So she has to pick them up, put them in the scanner, scan them into the bank account. Then we have to cut new checks to the agents based on that disbursement authorization. So she handles a lot of just whatever needs to be done. She also sends out when an agent joins us, they get like this little swag box from us. So she handles that as well, which is really cool. So they get it the next day delivered to their house, which just gets people excited about the brand. And that's what she does. And so she's part-time. The virtual assistant, she's got one full-time virtual assistant that manages the email inbox. And then with the compliance, it's a part-time assistant. And the Philippines are great. We've had these assistants for years and they don't change. They don't complain. They just like get the work done the way it needs to be done. And it's amazing. We couldn't be more grateful for our assistants.
If you don't mind sharing, how much are you paying to those assistants, VAs from Philippines per hour?
Like $4 an hour.
$4 an hour.
Yeah. So I think the two of them were like 40,000 last year. That we paid between the two of them, and then our assistant on the ground here, she gets like $1,000 a month to do what she does. So our total overhead staff is probably about 60,000 between everybody. We also have somebody who helps us with marketing part-time just to do all the posts and automations and all that kind of stuff. And she does it virtually as well. And that's, yeah, all together, all of our staff's about $60,000. So if you think about the traditional
That's incredible, dude.
office,
It's so hard for me to believe that having 170 plus agents, brokerage, the way you guys are turning out volume. I mean, 3 staff people, $60,000 a year in payroll.
and the service is
Incredible.
great. I got to tell you, I mean, everybody gets back. We have no emails in our inbox by the end of the day. Everybody gets everything back that they need. All checks are cut immediately. There's no problems. We have no compliance issues. We like everything just runs like a well-oiled machine. If you think about like these big box brokerages, the franchise model, right? You would have to hire the staff at the front desk. You would have to hire your own broker. You would have to hire your own recruiter. You would have to hire, your director of whatever, right? And it would be like $300,000 a year, and you have to manage these people. Everybody who works for us is an independent contractor. We have no employees. So there's no emotional management that we have to do. So my wife and I's lifestyle is tremendously better because we only pay people for performance. And this is what we figured out in real estate sales, is that's what we want to do. We don't want long-term staff unless it's a virtual assistant because they stay in the role for years. Americans, they switch every 6 to 12 months. It seems like it's getting even faster these days where they can't stick with something. You can't have turnover as a business owner. It's very disruptive. So we try to find people who are going to help and work with us long-term. We're looking for long-term players. The people who stay with us long-term, like we bonus our virtual assistants, we bonus our assistant. We try to take care of our people as much as possible. If they need something, we give it to them. Like I think one of our independent contractors had a handicapped daughter, and we just bought her whatever she needed, right? Like you just take care of the people that you have, but it doesn't have to be in an employer relationship. It can still be an independent contractor relationship.
Right. So are these assistants communicate directly with your agents, or everything goes through you and your wife in terms of the communication?
Oh, they communicate directly with them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And they have no problems communicating with let's say a VA or an assistant from Philippines. I mean,
Oh,
some of the agents, we had some pushback in our company. We're like, well, I would like to talk to a director of operations or somebody who's here versus being overseas.
The service is really good, so they don't care. And also, we introduce them at the beginning but even before they onboard. So if we're recruiting someone, we tell them who our team is. Like, we have 2 virtual assistants in the Philippines. Are going to take care of everything for you. We have this other person who works for us locally. They're going to take, like, everything's going to be taken care of for you. This is what you contact Brittany for. This is what you contact me for. And if you need anything else, these are the 2 people to go to, and they handle it all for them. So they are client facing, but they've been with us for years, so they know what to say and they know how to handle almost every single situation. Again, the benefit of not having the turnover is really powerful. Also, like, people get responses immediately to their emails. I mean, we're talking like if they email us, they're getting back within 5 to 10 minutes on whatever they need every single day. So they have there's nothing to complain about. And if there's something that the virtual assistant can't solve, then they keep it in my wife's folder that she checks, once a day at the end of the day. That says, oh, I couldn't solve this one. Can you respond to this one? And they watch how she responds. They learn, and then for the next time they respond that way.
So VA is doing most of the replying
Mhm.
in inbox. Okay, gotcha.
95%, 95%.
What about you? I mean, what are your responsibilities in a company? What is your role?
So I train and I recruit agents. So agents who inquire or referred to us, I have phone conversations with them, and then I invite them to the trainings that we have. And that's where the conversion generally occurs, is at a training. If they get in the environment and everybody's a producer, everybody's making more money, the training is really strong and powerful because it's not taught by somebody who has no idea what they're doing. Has actually done it themselves before multiple times. Then that's when the conversion really occurs. So I just say, most people, when they call, they're already sold on us because they've been referred, they've heard about us, we've had some longevity in the marketplace, and they've already been watching everything that we've been doing on social media and everything. But then there's a few that want to meet in person. So either me and my wife will meet with the person depending on who they want to meet with. So we ask them, who do you want to meet with? Do you want to meet with me, or do you want to meet with my wife, Brittany? Probably about 75% of the time, we can just end the phone conversation after 15 minutes and they're joining if they're a good cultural fit. So we do look. If they need to have an in-person meeting, we have them come to us, because Jacksonville is the largest city by landmass. We have 3 kids under 5. We're like, hey, meet at this Starbucks. Like, it's right around the corner from our house. We'll meet you there. We'll buy you coffee for making the trip over to us. And that's generally how we run it. So it's really efficient. And so I do all the trainings. I do the training calendars. I invite all of the guest speakers. We have a lot of guest speakers who come in and train our agents. We have coaches that we think are the most valid coaches and trainers in the country come in and do trainings. So then it's not always me doing the training. They're hearing different voices. We bring in economists, we bring in accountants, we bring in, like, all the people that they need to hear from to be successful in the real estate industry and be really highly educated. We bring them in, and most of the time we pay them a speaking fee of $300 to $500 to come in and do a training, and that's really, really valuable to them. We record all the trainings, we put them in a portal so everybody has access to them, so if they miss them, they can go watch it later.
Got you. So you don't have a recruiter.
No, I'm the
You don't
recruiter.
have a recruiter.
Yes.
You don't. Do you guys have like a transaction coordinator, somebody who's helping out agents with their transactions on a back end?
So we don't, but we have 4 agents within the group that just do transaction coordination, that sell the transaction coordination services themselves to the agents if they want to. So they'll be like, pay me 350, 450, add me to my dot loop and close the deal for me. And it's no problem. All the transaction coordinators know our process through dot loop. So it makes it really easy. They don't make mistakes.
Wow. What are your like top 3 expenses in your company? If you look at your P&L, like what would be I mean, salaries, obviously the pay is about 60,000. What are the 2 other ones?
You know,
You know,
and then, like, other professional services, like hiring other trainers and coaching to come in. We probably spend about $80,000 a year on other trainers and coaches to come in and train our people.
80,000 a year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty high. I think it's higher than most companies. We get a lot of content. We have a lot of guest speakers. We've got a lot of great coaches that sometimes we even fly in people and then do a meeting with them. So that's where they get value. I mean, they're getting the value of a large organization with all the top producers for 1/3 of the price, and they don't have to leave their city to get that content. it's
That's
super
crazy.
valuable to
Oh,
them,
it's very
right?
valuable, very impactful. Absolutely. Absolutely. What about tech stack? I mean, what are you guys running internally, like in terms of technology for the brokerage and also the agents?
So we have Broker Sumo and Dot Loop on the broker side. On the agent side, we had Follow Up Boss and we have Boomtown. Now we're transitioning from Follow Up Boss to Boomtown because Boomtown right now is like super highly preferred over Follow Up Boss because the agents want the Google pay-per-click leads. Ever since the market started shifting just over a year ago, they want leads. Now the Google pay-per-click leads are terrible. They're like 1% conversion rate and it takes a lot of work, but they like the idea of having these leads available to them. So we can get them Boomtown with the IDX website, with the app, with the Google pay-per-click leads for $99 a month, which is basically an 85% discount from the retail if they're going to go buy it on their own and they can get leads from it, then it's a huge win for them. So yeah, we bought Boomtown for the agents and give it to them at an incredible price.
Got it. So the agents pay for it extra per month, or that's included with the package?
$99 a month, and then I
99 bucks.
pay for the leads, and then when they close a lead, there's a 40% referral fee to the brokerage.
Got you. So you're the one who's fronting the money for the leads. Got it. Got it. And
Yeah,
you're
and
gonna
then
have like a
that
selected group of agents that's
that
gonna.
come so one thing you got to know on that is like I'm paying for the leads, but but we want them to give first opportunity to our lender and our title company.
Got you. So, all right. There's a little condition there. They're not required, but we like
They
you to use the mortgage or
highly
share
encourage
title company.
you to use our title and mortgage company because that helps our ecosystem. That helps us have larger parties, larger events. We rent out these bars. We're going paintballing next month. We're doing, an arcade the next month. Like we have this whole social plan, and the money to that goes to those social plans. And the social events are great.
Got it. So how do you guys use Broker Sumo and Dot Loop? Dot Loop is more like a transaction management platform, right? Where do you guys use Broker Sumo? Is it more for like paying
Most
out
of the
commissions?
1099. Yeah,
1099?
1099.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right, so let's segue to the mortgage side and the title side of the business. When did you guys launch the mortgage and title?
We launched mortgage in 2020. We launched title in 2021.
Okay, so
And the
so almost
mortgage
4 years
company,
ago.
the mortgage company did amazing. So it's a mortgage branch and it exploded. We made over $1 million revenue our first year. It was phenomenal. And then we couldn't find a really powerhouse loan officer that would convert with our agents. The service wasn't good enough. So it fell back down. Basically, we're basically just skidding the surface now. It's not a very big business at all, but man, we crushed it when we started. It was such an incredible opportunity. We just didn't have the right staff, and that was on me. If you're going to have a mortgage branch, you have to have incredibly powerful loan officers, like really strong, already knows what to do. Anyway, that's my opinion. And then we have a JV relationship with a title company. It's really, really good.
Got it. Are you guys offering any type of like equity positions or options to like a selected group of agents in your company to use your mortgage company to ownership in having an ownership in a title company or a mortgage company? Is that something you guys are offering?
Not on the mortgage side. We are exploring with our JV partners doing title company this year because it is becoming really prevalent in Florida. So we're getting eroded away by competition of other people who are selling shares of their title company. We're making sure that we're compliant with RESPA in all cases, of course. So we're looking closely at that, and we'll probably be launching a title partnership with our top agents likely in the next 2 months. And that'll be just another huge piece to the recruiting game where, these large big box brokerages these franchises that have to use a specific title or mortgage, then they can't get any ownership from that. We're going to be able to provide that to them, which is a huge value add.
Got it. Got it. And when you say you started a mortgage branch, right? So do you have somebody who's like a branch manager? Are you the branch manager there? How does that all structure and how does it work?
Yeah, so I'm not licensed, so that's something you should know about me. And I also don't own any of Momentum Realty, so it's all 100% owned by my wife, and that allows me to be a branch manager for a mortgage in a box. So I get paid bonuses based on the production of the branch.
So you divested yourself from a Momentum real estate brokerage, so you're not an owner.
All under my wife's name. Yeah, I don't have,
Oh
yeah.
my, oh, I didn't know that. So you're no longer practicing real estate. You're not no longer selling.
I had my license for 4 years.
Oh shit, I didn't know about that. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so because of that, you can own your own mortgage branch,
We can have our branch and we can have our title company
your own
because
title company.
how RESPA is set up. There's no conflict of interest if I don't have any ownership of the mortgage brokerage, and I am doing separate work on the mortgage and title side.
Got it. Got
And
it.
of course, everything is disclosed to the customer anyway on top of
Of
that. So
course, you're absolutely. Okay, all right. So there's an interesting stat that I read a few days ago on Inman. I didn't even know this, but 82% of brokerages out there are independent and they have 7 or less agents. I mean, it was a shocker for me. And, you know, there are like over 100,000 brokerages out there, right? In the United States, got to be at least 100,000. So, like, I guess what advice, would you offer to any of these brokerages that are like, man, they have less than 7 agents? I mean, you're not making any money. I mean, anything I think under 20, 25 agents, depending on your compensation, the splits, you're probably not making any money. So what advice would you give them? The first thing that you would do as a brokerage owner if you have only 7 agents?
stick to sales, make a team, don't have a brokerage. There's a lot of liability that comes with brokerage, with owning a brokerage, and there's a lot of responsibility, and only 1 or 2 bad agents can suck up all the resources of your firm. So I think your best and highest bang for your buck, like the only way you're going to make money in brokerage is if you scale to a really high number. Like we didn't really start making real money until we got over 100 agents, and over $300 million in production. Like that's where I think it made sense for us on the 100% commission model. If you don't get there, I don't think it's worth your time. And I think you should just stick to selling real estate. It's my personal opinion. Like, what's the benefit? Like, there's no real strong upside other than having your name on there. But the way that the branding goes, and like most people don't even present the name of their broker anyway. So I don't really see what the big deal is to just join another brokerage. Or the indies should at least team up with each other to get a bigger one where they get a larger economies of scale. That's something that we're interested in, is like all these indies. Like if you're struggling and you want the resources, the training, you want less of the headache, but you still want the upside income, just stick to the revenue share model that we have, like 20% rev share. You can get $3,200 per agent that you bring over per year. And that's a huge upside. And a lot of people, they can make more money doing that than running their brokerage.
So the 20% rev share, if you don't mind clarifying that, 20% rev share on the adjusted gross commission.
20% revenue share off of the money that they pay into our cap.
So
We have a
so you have a cap.
we have a $16,000 cap, and they
Okay,
get 20% of that cap.
got you. So about $3,200. Yeah,
$100. Yep.
$3,200. And
Every year.
how many levels or how many layers deep? Just one layer?
One level.
Okay,
Yeah. Find that
gotcha.
that's more competitive than EXP and Real and some of these other companies. 20% revenue share is a lot of revenue share. The agents are making a lot of money. We cut a ton of checks for them.
Got you. Got you. And how many of your agents are sponsored by the agents, by other agents in your company? What would be that percentage?
15%.
15%?
Yeah, it's low. Because we started it like a year ago, so it's pretty low. But the amount of checks that we're sending out is awesome. Like we love sending the mailbox money to the agents. Great.
Almost definitely. So with the industry that being, yeah, I mean, the industry has been really, really hammered in the last year and a half to 2 years, right? I mean, with the NAR situation, interest rates rising, shortage of inventory, agents not producing enough, brokerages not making that much money. Like, if you would start the real estate brokerage again, like, what would be your like 4 things that you would be focusing on from the minute that you started the brokerage?
If I had to start again right now,
Would you start a real estate brokerage right now in this environment?
I would be selling real estate. I mean, I don't think there's any. I mean, unless you're going to go really big, you have to go really big. But if you make your commission too small, it's not worth it. Like I know some brokerage owners who like charge $500 a transaction, and then it's like you have to get really big for those numbers to be worthwhile spending your time doing just that versus selling real estate. In some ways, just selling real estate is a lot simpler, or building a team with showing assistants and all this other stuff. I mean, there's teams with showing assistants that are at our company that are making $500,000 a year, right? And that's like, and they don't leave their house. Like, they just have the showing assistants do the work. I mean, it's phenomenal. So, and I don't know many broker owners who make more than $500,000 a year. I haven't met them. So I think, like, if you were going to do it right now, I'd probably just keep selling real estate. Or you would do it to have a team merge. Like, there's also the case to build your own team, have your own brokerage, and then just build your own team, so you don't have those crazy high splits at the big box brokerages. But now, because the 100% commission models are out there, you don't really need to create your own. You could just tap into someone else's ecosystem for a really affordable price and then run your team there. So I think there will be more from the big box brokerages going to these 100% commission models like ours over the next few years, as people kind of put pen to paper and figure out that they're paying way too much on their splits. And there's some companies that don't even have caps on their splits, which is mind-boggling to me. So you have to decide where you want to be in the economic system. I would either be the like premium brand where you're going to charge everybody 25% uncapped, right? Which is like phenomenal. Like, if you have an uncapped and these people produce and you're only going after producers, that is a phenomenal, that's probably the best business model to have for profit as a broker owner. If not, you have to decide, like, am I going to be mid-tier or am I going to go low fee? And you need to figure out the economics on that and decide, do you want to have like a really big group of a ton of low producers, which we don't believe in, like a ton of just graveyard agents at your brokerage that just run around causing chaos? Or do you want to be in the middle, or do you want to have a standard? You need to figure out where you want to be, and that's going to determine basically every other aspect of your business. Because working with top producers, for me, is phenomenal. Working with low producers is like a gigantic headache, and I don't want to have those conversations. So you got to figure out who you are as a person, and then kind of work your way from there and what type of brokerage you want to have. But right now, I would probably just keep selling real estate if I was a real estate agent. Right now, I don't think is the right time to open one. That if you want to make profit, depends what your goals are. If you want to make profit, I would probably just stick to selling.
Wow, that's eye-opening, man. That's
How,
amazing.
how do you feel about that?
I don't know, man. I think there's a lot what you said is definitely like 110% truth. I agree with you, but I think there are still opportunities out there if you're, let's say, starting a brokerage. And like you said, as long as you are kind of figuring out your niche, your strengths, and your value proposition, I think you can charge a specific dollar amount for that value proposition, and you can still make some money doing that. And the way I look at the real estate brokerage is the fact that if you can tie that up also to like other ancillaries like mortgage and title, you do that, and then you have the insurance piece of it. And then if, let's say, you charge your agents for lead gen services, like there's some money to be made there as well. But the question is, can you do that also as a team leader? Probably you can, and have less liability.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, if you get to enough production, then all these stores open up for you anyway. If you get
Yeah.
over like $40 million in production in our market, every door that you just described is exactly the same. It's just like, are you going to pay the $16,000 cap, or are you going to go try to build this thing all on your own and spend $200,000 and a ton of your time to go try to figure it out? Oh, by the way, most of them fail. Like, it'd actually make more sense. Like, most broker owners, they're charismatic, they open their company, they've got some followers, they've got a team, and they open the brokerage, and then they fall flat because it's the opening the brokerage is very different than, and running a brokerage is very different than selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't realize that until later, and they hate the management of the people. They don't like the turnover of the agents. It bothers them, even though it's statistically going to happen to them, and they can't handle it, and they just get stressed of all the financial impacts of the brokerage. And it would honestly be best for most indies to just have small powerhouse teams at other companies that are really well run.
Got you. What are your thoughts about selling the brokerage? Like, for some reason, there's that notion that, I cannot sell a team, but I can sell my brokerage 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
We got offers. We got lots of offers. We had an offer the other anyway, we had a very high offer. I actually can't disclose it, but we had a very high offer from another company. Um, they want you to grow a certain percentage each year. They want to have a payout over four. They want to sell or finance it back to you, basically over to them. Uh, and because of our commission model, the way it doesn't fit in most of the people who want to buy it. So if your split is 90-10, but the acquirer is a 70-30, you're going to lose all your agents immediately and you're not going to be able to sell it. I don't think this isn't something that we think we're going to sell. We're going to get it unless you get it to a maximum size or you're going to like IPO. I don't think they're really saleable. I think in the franchise world they are because you're going to find another franchise owner to buy it, but your multiple is going to be capped at 2 to 3 times your profit. So it just depends on if you're going to go indie, if you're going to go franchise. But I don't really see them as saleable assets. I see them as cash cows for you to make investments elsewhere or back into it, so you can go make more cash. But it
So
takes daily effort. I mean, you have to put the work in. Like if I stop working, me and Brittany stop working, then this thing probably has an expiration date on it. So it's not perfectly a business at this point. We still have jobs in this business.
got it, got it. So like, what is your vision going forward? Your ultimate goal 5 to 10 years down the road? Still want to run the brokerage?
Yeah, we're crushing it. I mean, like we're really happy with where things landed. We're doing $522 million this year in production. We're down about 13% from last year, which hurts, but the market's down about 20%. So we did pick up a little bit of market share. Our agents are thriving. They're making more money. Their lives are getting better. We're helping people. We're making money. We're building more systems. The title partnership is really exciting. I like our goal is just like everybody's making more money, and if people want to be along for the ride, then that's great. If they don't, there's plenty of other options around there. But the people at our company are truly becoming wealthier by being here, being in the environment, and taking the action, and that's what gets us really excited.
That's
So
awesome.
who knows how big it can get? I mean, we had none of this stuff we planned. I mean, that's the reality of it. Like we started a lending fund last week for our agents because our agents kept coming to us for money. We say, hey, we want to flip houses. We don't have the cash to do it. I said, I'll give you a loan. What's the property? And then we just started a lending fund, and now we have $2 million for this year that we can lend out to our agents to go flip. Makes them more dangerous when they go into listing presentation, right? They can think like, okay, is this something I can buy for myself and flip and make some money off of? Or is it something they have all the resources I wish I had when I was a real estate agent starting out? They already have it, boom, right there. They have the boom town, they have all the training, they have the money right there. They have valid leaders that can answer their questions within 5 minutes during the day. I mean, it's just like it's mind-boggling how like if you're going to put in the work, this is the place to be because you're going to increase your income and you're going to have a ton of people behind you to support you.
Dude, I love it. You're sharing everything with me. I was like, man, I wish I would be an agent again. I would go and actually, join his company, man. That's inspiring. That's great.
It's been
Uh,
fun.
anything that I did not ask you that I should have asked you, John, by any chance?
So for broker owners,
Yeah, for the broker owners or the agents. Let's say, I mean, look, I mean, we were initially agents. I mean, selling agents.
yeah, I mean, if you're an agent, get your ass back to work because I mean, we had like this amazing 2 to 3 year period where money was just flying. You actually have to work now, and you need to get your ass back to work and stop being lazy. For the broker owners, they need to pencil down and see where their profits are and stop making stupid decisions and going after shiny objects and stop selling shiny objects to your agents that don't work. They're going to find out in 6 months and leave you and complain about your brand, and it's going to be bad for your brand. Stop selling them stuff that doesn't work, that you just doing it to collect a fee off of. I think it's a bad long-term play. And just stick to the fundamentals. Get your people into production as much as possible and encourage them to do so. It's really that simple. We focus primarily on helping our agents with their databases. We even have a program within the organization where we help them with their database touches. We send out emails on their behalf. We can send out mail on their behalf. We can send out Lolo Gifts, which is a platform where you can send out gifts to their customers that's all branded towards them. We help them attack their database as
So
much as
who's
humanly possible.
John? So who's doing that? You said we sending out emails, we sending out mail, we sending out gifts. all of that. Who's actually doing that? Who's pushing that button?
Our virtual assistant manages all of that within Constant Contact. So we have a template that's built out. We throw the agent's name, their phone number, their email, their web address, their headshot, everything into a template. And then we do it all for them and send it out on their behalf.
And how often, how frequently?
Twice a month.
Twice a
And then
month?
if they want to turn it into a mailer, we can send out mail to their database as well.
Okay, and that's also VA powered.
Yep,
Virtual
everything's
assistant.
yeah, it's all automated, it's all virtual assistant. And then for the gifts, we purchased a platform called Lolo, which gives you a local gift once per month to like get a free car wash here, or get a free donut at this new donut shop that opened up. And those are really cool. It texts your customer and then it emails them as well, and it shows it's branded to the agent. So we think if we can help them automate their customer touch programs, then we're going to be selling more real estate down the line with these agents. And it's also hard for the agents to get off the platform because they don't want to have to move everything because it's all automated for them. So they don't have to think about it. It goes out. It's pretty good content. The open rate's like 50%, which is insane on the content that does go out. So it's a really big value to the organization. I don't think the agents understand how valuable it is, but it's hard for an agent to be really good at selling and then also creating content, right? Like it's very rare that like a top salesperson who's good verbally is going to be really good at the written language as well and putting it together, and also good at design. So if we can take that off of their plate for them and help them out there, then it's a really big value add.
Awesome, dude. Couple more questions. I know you got to run, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate your time. It's been so enlightening on so many different levels. Um, how do you feed your mind?
um, all the time. So I love learning. I'm a big learner. My wife is a huge learner too. We're part of this amazing group called GoBundance, which I joined in 2019. And I have a lot of friends in that group. They're actually the ones that encouraged me to open my own brokerage because I was so pissed off at the current brokerage model. They're like, well, why don't you do something about it and stop bitching? And I'm like, okay, like I'll just open my own. And they're like, why not? Like, that's what entrepreneurship is all about, right? You're pissed off about something, you go build a company that's the opposite of it. So it's kind of what we did. Um, what was your question?
So yeah, how do you feed entrepreneurship is not easy. Business ownership is not easy. Not that many people can relate to you. So you're part of this mentorship group called GoBundance, right?
Yeah.
Like what books do you read? Do you read books, podcasts? Do you have any mentors or coaches that you work with?
Yeah, so I have a lot of mentors and coaches. I'm very specific on my mentors and coaches. So I've had a real estate coach, agent coach my whole career. Then after that, I got a mindset coach when I started the brokerage. And then I paid a top recruiter at another company that had the most profitable KW franchise in the nation. He switched companies, and then I paid him $3,000 a month to teach me how to talk to agents because I had no idea how to like talk to an agent. I was only talking to buyers and sellers. So I've always had some sort of coach in my life. And now that everything is I have the basic skills down pretty good. Like I'm always trying to improve them, but I got them down pretty good. I need to, continue to feed the mind. So I do the GoBundance events, and I do YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization. I go to those events, and we have a forum group that meets and things like that. And whenever there's an event locally or around the country, I just try to, if I have the availability, I go. More recently, I have not been able to, or have chosen not to, because I have 3 kids under 5, and I would prefer to spend my time with my kids. So I'm very selective of who I spend time with, how I spend the time, and where it goes. My time is extremely valuable to me. It used to be like I could just go do anything at any
Yeah.
time. And it was incredible. Now I'm like, if it's not providing value to my family or to me, or it's not going to have like a massive bang for my buck, I just cut it out. Or if it's like something I'm not interested in, I say no. So I say no a lot more. And I get all that time back, and I invest it all into my family. So and that's been really good. That's the one benefit of having a brokerage that's virtual instead of a sales team, is I am able to be way more present with my family.
Got it. Got it. So in addition to operating a top-notch brokerage, mortgage company, title company, are you doing any type of investments, real estate investments, especially in the last year and a half or so?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot. We've been buying rental properties all along the way. We have been slowly selling them and then using that money for the lending fund to the agents because our property values went from like 200,000 to 500,000, which is awesome. We also were buying properties at foreclosure auction at severe discounts, then remodeling them. So we were flipping a couple of houses. We've come to the point where we don't want to own any real estate anymore. And so we are selling, and then because the return on equity that we're getting them is like 2 to 3%. Insurance has gone up, taxes have gone up, the
What
repairs,
what what about depreciation though?
depreciation just defers the tax. You still have to pay it at some point, so it's not really a big issue for us.
Got it.
Yeah, we're fine paying taxes. We'd rather just make a good deal than worry about the tax consequence. That's our personal philosophy on it. We don't have really a big issue. We also have some tax plays that we've done that has prevented us from paying tax the last 2 years. We can talk about at another time if you're interested.
I would love
But
to know more about it. For sure, I would love to learn more about it, but we can do it later, next time.
yeah, yeah. So, but and then we also bought some commercial buildings. Last year, I owned 200 apartment units. So, but I sold out of that and broke even. And I learned a lot along the way, failing through buying apartment buildings with other partners that might not necessarily have your best interest in mind when they're handling your money. So I figured that out, and much smarter for it, and much better investor for it. So I'm trying to get every piece of liability off of my plate and have as much control of my money as possible and just manage it myself.
So divesting from all of the real estate holdings,
Yes.
except commercial,
I'm still selling the commercials. Yeah,
still
I'm still.
selling commercial. So the building that you guys own, the office building, is that something you're going to sell as well, or are you going to keep that?
No. Yeah, that thing's like rock
Okay.
solid, like
All right.
3%.
And then you're deploying those funds in hard money lending,
Yeah, to our agents for 15%. So I'm trading.
15%.
I'm basically recasting our equity from 2 to 3% to 15%. And then I take all the liability off of my plate. I don't have to worry about any maintenance calls or anything like that.
Who's underwriting these deals? You, or you got
Yeah.
somebody else who's doing it?
So I used to be a real estate investment banker and I worked on Wall Street. So I used to underwrite commercial property and residential single family rental properties. So I can underwrite them within 5 minutes. I can tell you if the thing is going to make money or not. It's one of my skill sets. And so yeah, so it's really easy to underwrite. I also know the people I'm lending to and I know the properties around here. So the risk is fairly low.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that's the next game you're playing.
I'm a lender and I'm a recruiter. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm
You're a
just trying
lender and a recruiter
helping
too.
people trying to make money. That's all.
I love it, dude. Awesome. All right, my man. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, and I know you got to go. This was so impactful on so many different levels. I hope the audience gonna enjoy this. I definitely enjoyed this a lot. If let's say the audience want to connect with you, social media platforms, IG, Facebook,
Yeah.
the
So
website.
I have an Instagram. It's I am John Brooks at I am John Brooks, Jon, no H. I also have a newsletter that's pretty popular. It's called Think Big, Question Everything. There's about 16,000 readers every time I post. And I put out real estate content, usually not stuff that people want to hear. It's kind of just like my version of the truth that I see, and people can take whatever they want from it. They don't have to agree with whatever I put out there. Some of it's pretty controversial about the real estate industry, and you can read it. It's got a lot of interesting stats. It also has all my notes from conferences that I go to. And so you can, listen, you can basically get all my notes for free by, subscribing to Think Big, Question Everything on Substack.
And quick question about the Instagram. I believe you have over 19,000 followers,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's 13,000 or something. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you get so many followers?
At first I would follow and unfollow people, like back in the day, they would let you do that. And I would just like sit there, like while I was watching Netflix, like follow, unfollow. And then I just put out a lot of content, and over the years, I think I've had it for like 9 years. There's just been people who have started following. And then, speaking on podcasts like this, people are gonna just, I don't know. I don't get a lot of engagement, but for some reason people see it and they keep seeing it and they keep following. I don't know why, but they don't engage. I don't know if I'm doing something right or wrong, but I just keep putting out what's interesting to me. I just talk about my family, I talk about my investments, and I talk about the brokerage and the real estate market. Those are things that are interest of me. And I just share what's going on in my life. And it's cool to see other people what they have going on in their life too.
That's awesome, dude. Oh, listen, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for all of the wisdom, all of the information that you're sharing with the community. I mean, you're doing very important work, and hopefully we'll do it again. Maybe a second episode or a third episode. But man, just continue to pave the path for all other business owners, entrepreneurs, and business owners out there, and brokerage owners out there. So very much, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and I definitely look forward to following up with you after this.
All right, brother. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. Thanks, Al. Bye.